Thank you very much for that warm introduction, and it feels so special to be in Bangalore, our knowledge capital, innovation capital, a true exponential inspirator, I would say. Thank you for doing me the honor. I like to begin by looking at our state of Karnataka. And I say it is an amazing 40% state. State of Karnataka has 40% of software talent in India. Also, the talent is the youngest in India. Karnataka houses 40% of GCCs in India, Global Capability Centers. Karnataka is home to about 40% of our unicorns. Karnataka spearheads 40% of India's biotech sector. Karnataka's share in India's IT exports has just crossed 40%. So it's an incredible state. It's an exemplar for the rest of India, I would say. I have taken the meaning of breaking boundaries as just not doing exports of knowledge, of products, of services to other countries, breaking boundaries of geography, but most important is breaking boundaries in your mind and mindset. Because before you do that, that becomes very, very important. Now, for emerging as a leader, if you want Indian innovation to make a difference to the world, as is the theme, you require a paradigm shift in innovation strategy. We have been following, and then we became fast followers. For example, any new drugs that has been created anywhere in the world, within less than 18 months we would create our own by copying, by reverse engineering, by doing some process improvement. Because product patents were not allowed, process patents were allowed, and we became the pharmacy of the world as largest producers. But that was by fast following. We did not create any new molecule of our own. From there, we have to lead. That should be our aspiration. And not leapfrogging, but as I say, pole vaulting. Now that's a new word. You would say, where did that word come from? Pole vault. Actually, I have been on the board of directors of Reliance for 17 years. And I've been chairing the Innovation Council of Reliance. Now, in case of Reliance, they believe in growth is life. And you have seen how they have grown. It was a $1 billion company. It took it 15 years to become 10 billion. But just 10 years to become 100 billion, and now they are 200 billion, 250 billion rather, 200 billion, then 250, and they will be $500 billion in the next 3 to 4 years. That is exponential. That is exponential. But they also believe in innovation as a way of life. You combine the two, and it becomes innovation-led growth. But the growth is exponential. And you can't have exponential growth by incremental innovation. You have to have disruptive, game-changing innovation, which gives you 10x. Otherwise, you will get only 10%. Okay? Now, once Mukesh and I were having a talk, and he said, Doc, we must leapfrog to something. I don't remember what you call it, leapfrog. I said, do you know why the frog leaps? He said, no. I said, scientists have shown that he leaps because he's afraid of the predator. And leaps again. So I said, do you want to leapfrog because you're afraid of your competitor? Or do you want to pole vault? The size of the pole is the size of your aspiration. Now he loved the idea, and actually this idea was taken forward. In fact, I wrote a book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting, with my colleague Ravi Pandit. The subtitle is very important. Creating the magic of radical yet sustainable transformation. In 2019, it won the Best Book, Business Book of the Year award, as you can see. And it is not the number of copies that have been sold that is important, but the number of ideas from the book that have been sold in order to make the difference. This is the Reliance Innovation Council that I chaired. We had Mukesh himself as a member, interestingly. C.K. Prahlad was a member. Nobel laureate John Mary Lane was a member. Nobel laureate Bob Grubbs was a member, and so on and so forth. And now I chair the New Energy Council. As you know, he's making around $50 billion investment. And as we speak, world's largest single solar photovoltaic facility of 100 gigawatt is coming up sort of very soon, and there are big other plans. And we have these members like Mr. Solar, Mr. Wind, Mr. Storage. Mr. Solar, you will see Martin Green just now. He got the Queen Elizabeth Prize of Engineering, and if you see why we are where we are in solar today, this gentleman is responsible because when the efficiencies of conversion were 14, 16, 18%, he raised it to 27, 28% by his passive emitter rear sale. So these are the kinds of people. So they set very high targets for us. And one of the things that we did was creating this program called Beyonders. The idea was creating 100 innovation leaders who will pole vault and not just leapfrog, give them massive opportunities for growth. But most importantly, the characteristics were setting unreasonable goals, challenging the conventional wisdom. It is very easy to get extraordinary things done by extraordinary people, but very difficult to get extraordinary things done by ordinary people. These leaders should be able to do that. Suffering from discontent, divine discontent. My best is yet to come. And converting adversity into an opportunity, but creating an exponential value. Now, if you see the pole vault, if you look at 50 million users, it took telephone 50 years, mobile 12 years, YouTube 4 years, Facebook 3 years, Twitter 2 years, and Reliance did it in 83 days. Now you might say, thank you. You might say, well, if you have deep pockets, you can do that. No. There's a huge amount of innovation that is involved, which you will find in the book. Secondly, exponential rise in affordability leads to exponential scalability plus inclusion. If you see before Jio and after Jio, a 4G Vodafone, $300 came down to 23. Data per GB cost dropped so massively, and voice was free. That was the break that we had. India itself pole vaulted from 155th position to number 1 position after Jio's entry. You know, this is where we were actually, and then we jumped to this particular position. That's the meaning of pole vaulting. Okay? And the important part is that this has affected India. In mobile data consumption, for example, we have shown this particular exponential, as you can see, and it's an amazing 67x improvement in last 8 years, rise in last 8 years. You look at pole vaulting in real-time transactions, for example. You know, 2022 UPI clocked so many transactions, 46% of world's transactions. And now we are talking in terms of UPI going global. We are talking about Indian innovation impacting the world. You can see. But you can see the journey. If the journey had not taken place, you have not gone to 4 rupees per GB and voice free and scaled exponentially, this would not have been possible. Right? That is the main point I'm trying to make throughout my lecture. Breaking boundaries requires mindset change, and I will give you some experience from my own book of life, so as to say. You know, when I became director in National Chemical Laboratory, It was 1989. That time, liberalization came up in 1991, so it was 2 years before liberalization. What were we doing? We are reverse engineering. We are copying. We are doing import substitution. The entire laboratory was doing that. Okay? Why? Because there was no competition. Competition came in 1991. My problem was that at any time, NCL scientists did something which was ahead of the rest of the world, and I went to Indian industry, they would say, no, but has US done it? Has Europe done it? Has Japan done it? If they have not done it, how can you do it? So I remember this was a packed auditorium on 1st June 1989, where in a capacity of 540, we were 1,100 people, by the way. You can see some of it here. And I said, National Chemical Laboratory will be International Chemical Laboratory. We'll export our knowledge rather than begging and borrowing. We'll export our patents. Now that was daring, because after its birth in 1950, in 39 years, NCL had 0 US patents, because that patenting culture was not there. And here I was saying that I will be exporting. And I remember I was talking about General Electric, because I'm a polymer person and I had seen some breakthrough patents by them. I said we should be able to export to them also. And I remember a young man coming to me and said, do you realize that GE's R&D budget is 2.5 times India's R&D budget? I said, no, it is not the power of the budget that matters, but idea that matter. In fact, our first experiment came in going international within 1 year of that talk. And in 1990, the World Bank project on reforming Chinese chemical research institutions in Nanjing and Suzhou. And I'm very proud to say that we beat 3 US companies, Arthur D. Little, Chem Systems, International Development Panels, and won the contract. In fact, Ambassador Ranganathan said that this was the first consultancy project from China to India. China in 1990 and China today are very different. Can you just imagine what happened then and where we are vis-a-vis China? But the important point is that we have never done a consultancy abroad. And this was a consultancy that we did. It's a question of mindset. You can do that. I think most important message to NCL I gave, it is not the power of the budget that matters. It is the power of idea that matters. And I remember NCL licensing 3 US patents on polycarbonate to General Electric in 1994. And this was $1 million at that particular time. And that was the first reverse transfer of a technology. And don't forget, GE had 40% of world market share at that time. So to give it something to the leader, you have to think ahead and create something special. It is not incremental, it is disruptive. And then we had a strategic alliance between NCL and GE, and then, of course, others followed. In fact, this NCL transformation is in a course on emerging economies in Harvard Business School as an exemplar on what you can do with the change of mindset. When Jack Welch got to know about this, he simply said, if they are so good, why are we not there? Okay? If you write the story of how GE R&D Center came here, actually this was the beginning. And I remember that our former Chief Minister S.M. Krishna welcoming Jack Welch when the Jack Welch R&D Center was inaugurated. And I was invited as a guest, by the way, at that point in time, so I'm a witness to it. In fact, they gave me a space on the dais itself. Very interesting. I understood that there is a small conference room named after Mashelkar there. I don't know whether it exists now, but they had created. The most interesting thing was When there was a press conference, Jack Welch was asked, "Why are you here?" And his answer was very interesting. He said, "I am here because we get the highest intellectual capital per dollar here." That's the crux. And here are some data that will show. Highest intellectual capital in terms of research publications per dollar. This is a 2020 data set. And if you see the comparison, if you have to put $1 here, it will require in UK $2, Australia $4, China $5, US $7, and so on and so forth. Okay? So bulk of these companies, the so-called GCCs of course are far broader than R&D, services included. That's the reason. I can create a similar sort of a table for patents. All right? And in fact, these centers now, some of them, as you can see, prediction has come true after 20 years down the line. I remember in 1995, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the finance minister, remember giving this talk, Lala Karamchand Thapar Memorial Lecture. And the title of that talk, I'm talking about 1995, so 28 years ago, I had said India's emergence as a global R&D platform, the challenge and the opportunity. Nobody believed me. People call me a dangerous optimist, by the way. But that prediction has come true because in 2016, we could write this paper on emergence of India as a global R&D platform. And as I said, it is Bengaluru that has made it happen because the center of gravity is here. You look at now the GCC, I believe there were Session Jagdish on GCCs. So these are very interesting data. 1,600 plus is the total number of GCCs in India, 65% of which is headquartered in the US. And of the 1.66 million, the talent employed by GCCs, Bengaluru accounts for 42% of the total ERA. 40%, you are hanging around 40%. It has to go to 50 and 60%, that will happen also. Of the 11.4%, CAGR of GCC market size, 42% actually. Of the USD 46 billion, the market size in 2023 alone is 25.6 billion. 960 plus GCCs work with a functional shared services model, IT, HR, FLA, and 42% of the total talent added in the last 2 years was in AR&D, which has been growing at a very high CAGR. So that's the picture that has changed over a period of time. Now, mindset change would mean that you have to move from incremental improvement to exponential improvement. And there is a word that we have coined, it is called exprovement. That word doesn't exist in dictionary, by the way, exprovement. And improvement to experiment, Heraclitus had said that the unexpected connection is more powerful than the one that is obvious. And this requires the magic of converging parallels. Now, what is the property of parallel lines? They never meet. Okay? So they are seemingly unconnectable. But if you connect them, you can create breakthroughs. So this book was released in Bangalore Business Literature Festival a couple of months ago, Experiment, but it was released first in April. And I'm very happy to say it is already in the 6th print. All right, it has just taken off in a big way. Harsh Heladkar, whom you see, actually is, I'm 81, he's 39, he's less than half my age. But his intellect is twice of mine, as you can see in the book. I'll just illustrate the point. Why I'm mentioning this is that, particularly I see a lot of startups, etc. We can't be doing incremental innovation. We have to do disruptive, game-changing, breakthrough innovations. And how do you do that? This is one of the ways of doing it. Ford, he started producing cars and he reduced it from 12 hours to 1.5 hours, one car, the amount of time it is to take. And the prices came down by a factor of 10. How did he do that? He visited animal slaughterhouse. And in that animal slaughterhouse, he found that the workers did not come to the part of the cut animal, but that part went to the worker. You can see that, this particular concept. And that is where he got the idea. Now, what is common between car manufacturing and animal slaughterhouse? Nothing, no? But by transporting that idea, you can see the world change. You look at 4 tires of a Formula 1 car can be changed in 2 seconds. And a company asks one brand to another, toothpaste, why does the changeover take 2 hours? And they used some of the techniques from there and found that they could produce 2 million tubes per year more without any expense. Now, what does a Formula 1 car and toothpaste manufacturing have to do? So this kind of thinking can give you actual breakthroughs. You'll find that. And there are more examples, like similarity between an F1 pit crew and how an emergency room could be set up. Applying a combinatorial behavioral economics and technology from gaming industry to physiotherapy. Does gaming industry and physiotherapy have anything common? You will find that there. Drawing a parallel between concept of banking money and banking time. Can you imagine banking time? When you are young, you give your time in service, maybe an old lady or whatever, and then you keep on banking it. And when you become old, you can use that bank. Very unusual, very interesting idea. And kite flying too. So I think you should go through the book to find out how that can be done. But we also show not only examples how it was done, but how we can change our organizations, startups included, in terms of ideation to create new breakthroughs. Now, one of the points that came up, and particularly for startups, I want you to look at this very carefully. Somebody asked me, how do we assure an assured success in a pole vault? How do you make sure that you don't break your back when you pole vault? So that is where we have created this assured matrix in the book, that is the 3rd chapter. First of all, your offering must be affordable. If it is affordable, it becomes scalable. But then most important is sustainable. Sustainability comes in different forms. You can't have your business model on the basis of subsidies by the government. Government change, subsidies change, and you can go down. So it has to be a robust business model, economic. Second is environment, ecology. You have to be green. If you are not green, you will not sustain. The third one is civil society. Society must accept it. GM food, society doesn't accept. Nuclear, society doesn't accept. Onshore wind, society doesn't accept. So that becomes a very important part. And the next one is the regulator. Certainly if the regulations are changed, you go down the drain. So there are deep factors there. Universal is user-friendly, customer-centric, obviously we know. Rapid, you have to move from mind to marketplace very rapidly. Otherwise, your competitors will take you. Excellence in terms of technology, the latest. And most important, distinctive. What do I mean by distinctive? Not me too. By distinctive, we also mean strong intellectual property. And when I use the word strong, that means the patents have to be strong, which nobody can bypass. And there are criteria, and I will come to the point on patents a little later. So this is the matrix. And in the book, you will find that we have given examples because you did not follow the assured test. Once you were successful, now you are done. For example, Napster. free download of music. They had 60 million users. Do they exist today? No. Because in the matrix, because they were affordable, free download, etc. But what happened? They don't exist because the society of musicians said, you can't download our music free. BlackBerry is a classic case. They remained an business machine with keypad and so on and so forth. When new technologies came, they just didn't bother, and they don't exist today, and so on. In fact, if you look at Jio, for example, is it affordable? Yes. 4 rupees per GB, voice free. Is it scalable? Yes. 450 million customers. Is it sustainable? Yes. It is making big money. Is it universal, user-friendly? Yes. You can see the two ladies, one from slums and the other one maybe driving a Mercedes. Both of them are using the same. Is it rapid? Yes, I showed to you 83 days how they created 50 million customers. Is it distinctive? Yes, obviously. They gave 4G LTE when 2G and 3G were the norms ahead. And are they affordable? Affordable are covered. So I think if you start using this matrix, you will come out with very interesting results. So I'm very happy to say that this matrix is being used across the country now in different forms. When our Honorable Prime Minister created this Swachh Bharat movement, I was appointed the chairman of a standing committee which will bring the best technologies on drinking water and sanitation by the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation Department. And I remember creating this matrix and using it. And then the other departments also started using. So this has been used now, as you can see, by research laboratories, because when you take a project, all right, use that matrix. It has been used by startups. In fact, there is one incubator that I know where the T-shirts say, are you sure you are assured today? Today. Because every day things can change. It has been used by SMEs, by corporates. Corporate like TCS uses it. It is being used by VCs, investors, government agencies, and so on and so forth. So this is an important parameter because when we talk about making a difference to the rest of the world, we have to first assure that we are assured in terms of our success and longevity. Innovation from India, impact on the world. What should be paradigm shift in innovation? It should be revolution, not just renovation. Okay, few percent. It has to be new to the world, not just to company or country. Thirdly, unprecedented past performance features, not just marginal cost or feature improvements. That's extremely important. Then entirely new products and services, not just tinkering with the existing ones. And most importantly, not the best practice, but the next practice. I'm not a great believer in best practice. Because best practice means you are copying somebody's best practice. Next practice means you are creating a next practice which others will follow as their best practice. I think that is the change that India has had. So you would say this all seems very lofty dreams, but I will show you how the young people in India are doing exactly that. In my mother's name, I have created Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. And this is for next practice, not for just practice. And if you just see some examples, these are the winners so far that we have had. Each one of them has created that next practice. And many of them have global footprint, by the way. When we say make in India but for the world and have an impact, many of them have done that. Let me give some examples. Like, for example, 5 rupees for ECG test, or $1 for breast cancer test, or 10 rupees for hemoglobin test, or ₹1 for respiratory health test. These have been all the, it looks impossible, no? But this has been done by our people. Just to give an example, best practice to next practice. Touch HB was created where you use high technology, photophotomography, spectrophotometry, advanced software for photon scattering. Now remember, when you create a best practice, that does not stay as best practice because somebody else, like Sony chairman used to say, I believe in displacing my own products myself because others will do it. So he displaced his own best practice by the next practice himself, which is building a camera where you capture the picture of conjunctiva by using reflectance photometry. Can you just imagine? Just look into the camera and you know what your hemoglobin is. What a transformation. And this is going places now. If you see others, for example, 2016 Awardee, eye breast device, just $1 test actually. It has gone to 2.5 million women in 20 plus countries now, making difference to the rest of the world. This is how it actually looks. And this is Measha. And if you see, there's a low-cost tactile sensor that measures tissue stiffness difference in real time, non-invasively, most importantly. It is ultra-portable, accurate, minimal training, wireless, cloud-connected, and instant results. You can just see what difference it makes. It has gone to 20 plus countries, making a difference to the rest of the world. Look at Rahul Rastogi for Sanket, the ECG device. He created Sanket 1.0 like this, a 12-lead ECG portable, but later on, he created the second one, and I'm carrying that version in my pocket. This is how it looks. You put your two thumbs for 15 seconds. This is a sensor. This is your heart. You put this 15 seconds and 15 seconds, and you have your ECG if you have downloaded an app called Sanket. Can you just imagine the difference it can make? And this has also, as I said, gone to places, 3 million scans have been conducted in 12 plus countries in this leadless 12-lead ECG monitor. This is the best practice going to the next practice, and this is the difference you can make. Leo Mauli of Axia State, can you believe 1.5 million actuator units have been shipped for 50 countries. What it does is it completely stops bleeding in just over 2 minutes, and standard gauge is 30 minutes. It's a real breakthrough. In fact, there is a paper on proceedings in National Academy of Science which is appearing now on the deep science that has gone behind this, by the way. So, look at Dr. Shyam Vasudeva. This has gone to 3,000 plus installations in 40 countries. This is a portable, non-invasive, non-mediatric, low-cost device for detecting 5 eye diseases, by the way. Very, very affordably with very high tech. Central point is simple. These were all startups. They have been all successful. They have gone all around the world. But their motto was not just making billions of dollars, but bringing smile on the face of billions of people, basically, by making a difference to them. It is not that if you are doing well, you can't do good. You can do well as you can do good. I think these are examples of this. If you look at the 2017, but there is one point I want to make. What comes in the way? What comes in the way? This Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award went to Dr. Naveen Khanna in 2017, and this was for Dengue Day 1 test. And he got Padma Shri in 3 years' time at the hands of our president. So powerful was his impact. What did he do? He created this dengue breakthrough kit, which detected dengue in 15 minutes, not 1 or 2 days. And the test kit has more than 75% market share today, but 10 million dengue tests have been sold. And if you see, it costs 1/4 of the conventional test. The challenge, however, is that of talent, technology, and trust. The trust is most important. Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. Trust is most important. There is an interesting story about this. He created this. It had got US FDA certificate, US patents, but nobody will buy it. Why? We're buying kits from Australia, US, and South Korea. Then suddenly a pandemic came. All kits were getting exhausted. Then we went to these countries. US said we can't give it in time, such large quantity. Australia said the same thing. South Korea, however, said we'll give. And as luck would have it, these kits were loaded on a wrong ship which went to Africa. So we had no kits. What do we do then? We went to our own. Okay, Navin Khanna's kit. That time, his market share was 0%. Today it is 75%. But if the ship had come, what would have happened? His market share would have been 0%. So that's the point I'm trying to make. We have talent, we have technology, but we must have trust. That's extremely important. And that's why I said not just venture capital, but adventure capital. We have to show certain amount of adventurism in supporting these young people. The key drivers are talent, technology, and trust, as I said. In fact, I remember I've been on the Microsoft External Research Advisory Board for 5 years. Used to go to Redmond, and this was when Bill Gates had visited India. And I remember there was a dinner come discussion that was organized by Ravi Venkatesan. And I was there, Nandan Nilekani was there, Anand Mahindra, and a few. And Bill Gates said something very interesting. He said, I was giving the Harvard University's commencement lecture, and I declared myself as the most successful dropout from Harvard. And of course he was right. And then he recalled that when he was 18, 19, computers were just coming. And there was a company in Albuquerque who was going to manufacture it. So he said they are doing hardware, they will require software. So he phoned them up and said, I'll give you the software. Half expecting, as he said, that they will keep the phone down. Old days, 18, 19-year-old offering software. You know what the company said? We are not ready as yet. Come after a month. And you know what Bill Gates said? Thank God they said come after a month. I did not have the software that I was offering. Can you just imagine? So, the company had a trust in that 18, 19-year-old, and that 18, 19-year-old had trust in himself. I think that is extremely important. That trust and confidence, actually. I think we have a bit of a trust deficit as far as we are concerned. We need to improve it. I projected what Karnataka has been able to achieve. You are a 40% state. In everything, you have 40% of share, basically. And I'm quite sure this has happened because you have trusted the young and given them an opportunity. One can create first to the world only with trust in oneself. I mean, for example, look at Samir Brahmachari, incredible man. He succeeded me as a DG CSIR. And there was a CSIR project on paradigm shift in drug discovery approach for extreme affordability of drugs. Science 2.0 collaborative research, collaborative system level annotation using Web 2, and connectivity on the National Knowledge Network. And this is how it was built. In fact, the semantic web portal was developed by Infosys. And you can see that here. And this is how we connected. Can you just imagine? This involved 8,000 participants from 130 countries. We talk about partnerships, global partnerships. That's what exactly happened. And interestingly, 40%, of them were actually students. Can you imagine students getting involved in drug discovery? This is the power of Web 2.0, and of course now Web 3.0 we are talking about. So that is how far we can actually go. Of course, we have been doing well in terms of exporting vaccines, for example. Bloomberg had said world's best hope for COVID-19 vaccine comes from India. And you can see the pharmacy of the world, how low-cost, high-quality therapeutics. But should we be satisfied with that? What is our percentage share of high-tech exports? China is more than 30%. Ours is around 10%. Should we not be pole vaulting to that level? And that is what the expectations from all our startups are. Finally, there is of course pole vaulting of Indian startups. As we know, India produced more unicorns in 2021 than all previous years. Until 2016, one unicorn per year, rising to one unicorn per week in 2021. And this is also a big pole vault. But we have to be cautious. And the caution is that in 2023, in the first half, there was zero unicorn. Why? Because the realities have set in. Looking at the assured framework, this Bombay Management Association had created an Assured Enterprise of the Year award. Every year it goes to the winner. Look at Byju's. Byju was the first one to get it. Byju was then $3 to $4 billion, rose to 22 billion and has collapsed to 4 billion. Why? Because in the assured framework, there are certain parameters for sustainability, which includes governance, which includes, of course, change that is external in terms of online learning and the demands becoming less, etc. So remember, once assured, not always assured. I must say that for breaking boundaries, can our startup break boundaries? And for innovation from India to impact the world, can our startups innovation impact the world? And just see here the brilliant examples of Zoho, for example. 75 million users in 190 countries. And look at their client list. It is absolutely amazing. This got the Assured Enterprise of the Year award this year, by the way. And you can see what difference it has made. I won't have time to go through each of these parameters, but to our startup community, I want to say that please use such metrics in order to sort of move forward. I'm very happy. I've been talking about leapfrogging to pole vaulting, and I'm very happy to see that spirit for India, not just to leapfrog, but to pole vault is coming up. General Bipin Rawat read my book, Leapfrogging to Pole Vaulting. And in an interview with Nitin Gokhale, he has said time has come to move from leapfrogging to pole vaulting. All right, so that is the aspiration. I'd like to end this lecture. As I said, I'm 81. So I have learned a lot by failures rather than by success. But I thought I will share that with you for the startup community. The first is, aspirations are your possibilities. Keep them high, but for you as well as for our society. As I said, the National Chemical Laboratory story, when I took over, we raised the aspirations. Will not be National Chemical Laboratory, will be International Chemical Laboratory. And then I told you the story of licensing patents to GE and GE coming here and setting up their R&D center, etc., etc. That's a different matter. So raising that aspiration is the same scientists, we are doing import substitution, we are doing copying, doing reverse engineering, created something which was ahead of the market leader, General Electric, in polycarbonate, where they had 40% market share. It is possible, the same people. So it is raising aspiration. The second is, you can do anything but not everything. So focus, particularly for my startup friends. I must tell you a little story on this. I was born in a very poor family. I walked, my mother actually brought me from Mumbai to Goa. Goa to Mumbai, from Mashel to Mumbai. And she was not a literate lady, worked very hard. 2 meals a day was a challenge. There are many nights when I was gone hungry. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street lights. And then a breakthrough came when in my SSC, secondary school certificate exam, I stood 11th among 135,000 students and I got a Tata scholarship. That is how I am here today. Otherwise, I would not have been here. The interesting part was, that I studied in a municipal school until 7th standard and I had to go to 8th standard. And my mother needed 21 rupees for shoes, for uniform, tuition fee. And finally, she managed to get it from a housemaid who are working in a Gujarati family. Interesting thing is that because of those 21 days, we lost admission in all good schools. And I went to a poor school. And I must say, that was a breakthrough in my life. You would say, how is it a breakthrough if you go to a poor school? Because that poor school had rich teachers. Rich teachers. One of them was Principal Bhave. He did not believe in chalk and talk. He believed in seeing, learning, doing, and so on. So one day he did an interesting experiment. He took a piece of paper and a convex lens, went out into the sun. He had the convex lens here, piece of paper here, moved up and down. And when the brightest spot came, he said, this is the focal length. And then he held it for some time, and the paper burnt. And when the paper burnt, he turned to me for some reason, and he said like this, if you focus all your energies, you can achieve anything in the world. All right, and that's what I've done. That's what I've done. And that also gave me the philosophy of life on one hand, but also that of science being so fantastic and so on. But as I grew older, I saw more meaning in it. Convex lens. Sun's rays are parallel. And parallel lines never meet. What does the convex lens do? It makes them meet. All right? That is where I coined the word convex lens leadership. Race, religion, language never meet. If you have leadership which bring them together, it's a different matter altogether. All right? And in the same way, in the institutions, like the CSIR transformation in 90s under my leadership has been now ranked among the top 10 in the world. Why? Because when two laboratories were not talking to each other, we made them talk to each other, created Team India and so on and so forth. So the lesson for startups is very interesting. Your leadership has to be that of convex lens, and it has a lot of meaning. It will create that light. The next one is purpose, perseverance, and passion matter. Too early to quit. Winners are never quitters. Quitters are never winners. You will fail. You will not succeed without failing. But look at fail, F-A-I-L, as first attempt in learning. Your best guru is your last mistake. But as long as you learn from it, remember that. The next one, when doors of opportunity don't open, you keep on knocking, you create your own doors. Again, a lesson from book of my life. When I came in 1976, India was a poor country. I wanted an equipment called Weisenberg reorgoniometer. You know how much time it will take me? 2 years. Digitally clearance, not manufactured in India certificate. We didn't have foreign exchange. So I was not getting that equipment. I said, what is the equipment God has given me? This. I used it and opened my own door on mathematical modeling and simulation. As all of you will know, the highest science prize for scientists below 45 is Bhatnagar Prize. I started the work in 1977. In 1982, I got the Bhatnagar Prize because I opened becoming. I remember I became Fellow of Royal Society. Do you know, in 363 years, there are only 3 engineering scientists who have become fellows. One was Professor Rodham Narsiva, he is no more. Professor Sharma, my guru, and myself, only 3. Considered as a very difficult honor to get. So I called Professor Rao. I said, sir, I have become FRS. You know what was his response? Not bad. I was very disappointed. Then I became American Academy of Arts and Science. 1760 onwards, Benjamin Franklin and George Washington had created it, and there are only 7 Indians who have got it so far. So I called Professor Rao. Sir, this is what happened. Not bad. And like that, each time I'll get something, I'll expect him to say something nice, and he would say, not bad. Then one day I got upset. I said, sir, what do I have to do to impress you? His answer is what I'm going to leave as a last message for our young people. He said, he calls me Ramesh. Ramesh, you are climbing on a ladder of excellence, which has no limit. It is limitless. Accepting the limit that you put up here. What does that mean? No matter what you achieve in your life, you have to say, my best is yet to come. So my advice to you is that you are in your 20s now. You will live for long, you will live for 100 years. Now the new generation. So whether you are 18, 28, 88, every day in the morning when you get up, you have to say, my best is yet to come, and today is the day it is going to come. Not only for me, but for my nation. And can you imagine if 1.4 billion Indians do that every day in the morning, where will India be? Right up there in the Committee of Nations. Thank you very much.